All right, let's get into it. K-pop Demon Hunters. This is the story of how a completely fictional movie didn't just become a hit, it actually created a real-world phenomenon. I mean, it's a story that totally blurred the lines between what's real and what's fiction, and honestly, nobody saw it coming. Okay, let's just start with this number. 325 million. That's not just a big number, that is the record-shattering number of views this animated film, K-pop Demon Hunters, pulled in on Netflix. We're talking the most watched original title in the history of the platform. So, the big question is, how on earth did an animated movie get this big? Well, it all kicked off with this just absolutely wild premise. I mean, think about it. What if the biggest girl group on the planet was also humanity's last hope? What if they weren't just selling out stadiums, but were also secretly fighting to save us all from, actual demons? It's such a cool concept, right? And it grabbed everyone's attention, like, immediately. Okay, so let's dig into what K-pop Demon Hunters is actually all about. The subtitle says it all. Idols by day, hunters by night. At its core, it's about this K-pop group that's leading a secret double life. And the central conflict? It's just brilliant because it's so simple. On one side, you've got the good guys, the girl group Hunters/Mix. They're secretly demon hunters, and their job is to protect this magical barrier. And who are the rivals? Well, it's the Saja Boys, a rival boy band, who are, and yeah, you guessed it, secretly demons trying to tear that very same barrier down. K-pop battle meets good versus evil. It's perfect. So let's meet our heroes, the members of Huntrix. First up, you have Rumi. She's the leader and the lead vocalist, but she's also hiding this massive secret. She's half demon. Then there's Mira, the main dancer, who comes from a rich family, but she's a total rebel. And finally, you've got Zoe, the super sharp Korean-American rapper and the group's maknae, which for anyone who doesn't know is the term for the youngest member in a K-pop group. And really, their dynamic, their friendship, that's the absolute heart of this film. But, a great idea is one thing. You need brilliant execution to make it work. So how did they actually craft this thing? How did it become such a unique cultural hybrid? Well, it really all came from the vision of the director, Maggie King. For her, this was deeply personal. She called it a love letter to K-pop and my Korean roots. She wasn't just trying to make another animated movie. She wanted to create a tribute to the global power of K-pop and her own heritage. And this is really the secret sauce, the KDH formula that made it all click. First, the animation. It's got that incredible, groundbreaking style inspired by the Spider-Verse movies. Then, the culture. The story is just steeped in Korean mythology, folk art, and the history of shaman women. Of course, there's the K-pop influence, with the groups modeled after real-life giants like Blackpink, BTS, and Twice. And even the filmmaking itself took inspiration from director Bong Joon-ho, borrowing that amazing ability to shift from comedy to horror in a heartbeat. All right, let's talk about the sound of this hit. Because obviously, a movie about K-pop has to have incredible music, right? But what nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted was that the soundtrack would be the thing that launched this movie from just a streaming hit into a legit, real-world phenomenon. The music literally broke reality. Okay, this is where things get truly insane. This is where a hit movie becomes a cultural earthquake. The song Golden, which is performed by the fictional group Huntrix, hit #1 on the actual Billboard Hot 100 chart. I'm serious. It beat out real-life global superstars. A song from a cartoon was the biggest song in the world. Nothing like that had ever happened before. And it didn't just stop with one #1 hit. Oh no, the soundtrack managed to place 4, count 'em, 4 songs in the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10, all at the same time. That's just unheard of. So yeah, this wasn't just a hit soundtrack. It was completely historic. The first film soundtrack ever to have 4 songs in the top 10. Golden didn't just top the US charts. It hit #1 on the Billboard Global 200. It got certified platinum. And in South Korea, it achieved what's called a perfect all-kill, which means it was #1 on every single music chart at the same time. Just wow. So, with the music completely taking over the real world, it's no surprise that the film itself was just exploding. It was becoming a full-blown global phenomenon. And this timeline just shows you how fast this whole thing blew up. It drops on Netflix in June. Less than a month later, in July, its song Golden is #1 in the entire world. By August, they release a sing-along version in theaters, and it tops the box office. And then by early September, it becomes the most watched Netflix title of all time. The speed is just incredible. And just to put that into perspective for you, 325 million views isn't just a little bit more than the others. It completely blew past massive hits like Red Notice and even the legendary first season of Squid Game. It left them in the dust. But maybe the craziest part of all this was its theatrical run. Remember, this is a Netflix movie, but they released a sing-along version that made over $19 million and became the first Netflix film in history to top the US box office. Think about that. People who could watch it for free at home were paying money to go to a theater and sing along with everyone else. That's a whole other level of fandom. Okay, so the numbers are just staggering, but they don't really answer the biggest question, do they? Why? What was it about this film? What was the secret that made it connect so deeply with hundreds of millions of people all over the world?
Well, if you look past the amazing animation and the super catchy songs, you find this really powerful emotional core. It's all about Rumi's story, her struggle with her half-demon nature, the shame of hiding who she is. That became this powerful allegory that so many people could relate to. It was about self-acceptance, embracing every part of yourself, even the parts you're scared of. And the film's message was that the key to doing that is finding strength in your friends, in your community.
And this wasn't just a hit movie, it actually signaled a massive cultural shift. Experts are calling it a new phase of the Korean wave, or Hallyu. See, before, the Korean wave was mostly about content that was made in Korea and then exported to the rest of the world. But this was different. This was created by the Korean diaspora, people like director Maggie Kang living outside of Korea, and it exploded globally. It was like an outside-in phenomenon. And the real-world impact was something you could actually see and feel. All of a sudden, viral TikTok dances were everywhere. There was a measurable spike in people booking trips to South Korea. Halloween was just a sea of Huntrass Rick's costumes. And this huge, passionate global fandom seemed to just spring up overnight. And don't think this story is over. Not by a long shot. A sequel is officially in development. There's even a short film, Debut, a K-pop demon hunter story, that's already been finished and rated. So yeah, this phenomenon is definitely going to continue. So that brings us to the big takeaway here. The story of K-pop Demon Hunters is so much more than just a successful movie. It's about a piece of fiction that became so powerful, it topped our real-world music charts, it shaped our culture, it created a global community. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. When a fictional story can impact our real world this powerfully, what does that actually mean for the future of entertainment? Where does that line between fiction and reality even go from here?